Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. This is our final session of day 4 of Build with Mapbox 2025. And this session is Streamline Data Pipelines with Incremental Tileset Updates. And it's a great follow-on to the other sessions today, all about the Mapbox Tiling Service. And our session today is presented by Chris Whong, Senior Developer Evangelist. Before we get started, just a couple reminders and logistical notes. Like all build sessions, this session is being recorded and will be available for you to view after the event. We will have time for live Q&A with Chris as well, if you have questions about the incremental updates feature of MTS. To participate, please do submit your questions through the Q&A feature. It's just easier to track them there than in the chat. Also, Chris, could you advance to the next slide? If you are looking for the captions button or translations, those are available at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And finally, you can find the recording for this session and all the other past sessions and upcoming sessions that are tomorrow in the Zoom event lobby or at mapbox.com/build. So that's all the reminders from me. With that, I'll hand things over to Chris.
Right, thank you, Marina. Pumped for this last session. So we're going to talk about incremental updates with MTS, which is a brand new feature, which I think was just released like a few weeks ago. Just enough time for me to write a tutorial about it. And that's really what we're going to be running through today, is the same tutorial that I wrote. So as a recap, I'm going to assume if you're interested in incremental updates, you already know a little bit about MTS and vector tiles. But these are some slides from my session earlier today about making vector tile sets. So if you're not familiar, basically all the Mapbox maps you see are rendered with vector tiles. Vector tiles are little chunks of data that come into the browser in these sort of square shapes that cover certain parts of the world. And then the browser or the client, if you're using mobile, will render and style those. So they allow you to just grab the chunks of data that are in view and only those chunks of data. And then you can have very large data sets that still efficiently load into the client. So what we want to do is make our own data, because Mapbox's base maps all work on these vector tiles that we curate, and you need to bring your own vector tiles with your own data when you want to overlay that data and actually make a useful map. This is a comparison to the different ways you can bring data into your map. So vector tiles are the first row on this list, and you are here where we say the con is that it requires pre-processing. So when we say that, we mean you must use MTS and configure things a little bit. Again, vector tile sets are different from GeoJSON sources where you download the entire data set into the client. And they're different from markers and annotations where the device is actually rendering an element or something on the screen that is sitting above the map. Okay, let's keep going. As you should also be aware with MTS, when you have a vector tile set, you can have multiple layers in it. We're actually only going to do one today in the demo, but you can have many, and that's how we pack in, everything we need for the base map into one vector tile for like Mapbox standard, for example. And then lastly, GeoJSON LD is the format we use to communicate with MTS. So it looks like a GeoJSON feature collection, but every feature is on one line, and it doesn't have the wrapping, feature collection itself. It's just the features. So each feature gets its own line, and this is a, I guess, streamlined way of getting vector data into MTS. So incremental updates. What it allows you to do in a nutshell is to send only the data that needs to update. So you can do create, update, and delete after the fact. So you can make a tile set, and if your tile set had 1,000 points and you only need to update 100 of them, all you need to submit is those 100 points that changed. So you can say 50 of these are updates. 40 of them we're going to delete, and 10 of them are going to be new. So you can completely change the tile set without having to reprocess the whole thing. So reprocessing a tile set takes time. So if you're only updating, a small section of it, that update time also is reduced. So instead, if your tile set takes an hour to process because you have millions of points, and you're only updating a few thousand of them, you can get that update done much more quickly. So yeah, faster and more frequent updates is what we're after here. So basically what we're going to do today is follow a tutorial. I'll show you where that is, and I'll drop a link to it if you want to follow along on your own after this. But we're going to create and publish a vector tile set with MTS. So this will be the exact same flow we did this morning. We're going to make a tile set source. We're going to create the tile set, and then we're going to publish the tile set. The only difference is we're going to add incremental true in our recipe, and that is what enables future incremental updates. Then we're going to do an incremental update with a change set. So I'll show you the data set we're going to use, but the change set is, again, a much smaller GeoJSON LD file with only the changes. So either creates, updates, or deletes. In our case, they're going to be all updates. We're going to upload that change set and then publish the change set. And to help visualize that is this simple flow diagram. So up here we have the initial tile set creation, where we make a tile set source, combine that tile set source with a recipe, and out comes a tile set. Then if we want to do a change set, we do what's called a change set config JSON, which is basically a recipe. It's a very similar concept, and it tells it where the change set should go, and then that will lead to a new version of the tile set. I made a little dotted line connection here because the change set corresponds to a tile set source. So if we had more than one tile set source, we could do one or more change sets, and we have to make sure that they align properly. All right, I think that's, well, no, I have a link to the, yeah, okay, I'll just show you. So here is the incremental updates guide on the Mapbox docs. Let me post that in the chat real quick. And here is the tutorial. So this is an advanced tutorial. It's only been out for a few weeks, but has everything I'm about to cover in this live demo. So bookmark that, come back, and you can study it. And let's move over to VS Code. All right, first I want to show you a bit about the data. So I have a script here called compile bike share stations. And I'm not going to go into super detail about this, but I do want to show you what data we're working with here. So I chose bike share data because we can get real-time bike share data from real bike share systems. And this one is from the Capital Bike Share in Washington, D.C. And they have two endpoints that are public that I'll show you in the browser what these look like and what kind of data they contain. But one is station information and one is station status. So station information is like the address of the station, the geographic coordinates of the station, basically information about it that's not the real-time information, but like the static information. And then status, station status includes the real-time goodies. So that's where it'll say how many docks that station has, how many are filled, how many are available. So let's take a quick look at those. So I'm going to follow these links. So here is station information, and you can see there's a data object and then a station, data object stations array. And inside the stations array, we have a station here. So this one is Montello Ave and Holbrook Terrace. We have latitude and longitude, which means we can very easily convert this into a feature, and that's what we need for MTS. And there are, probably hundreds of stations in here. Let's take a look at station status. So this is where we have some real-time information. So again, we don't see, I think we just see a station ID in here. So now we have to map the station ID that we see here over to the stations that we just saw in the other endpoint. And then we've got some interesting data here like num e-bikes available, num bikes available. So for simple demonstration purposes, I'm going to really only concern myself with num bikes available, but I think we're going to send it all to MTS. So I have a node script here that is going to mush these two together. So it's going to do a join, calling this data for both endpoints, and out the other end is going to come features. So it's going to have the format that I need to upload to MTS, which is important. And then it's also going to combine, the coordinates. So the latitude and longitude will become the feature geometry, and then it's going to grab a few properties to become the feature properties. So it looks like we're going to use ID, name, capacity, and num bikes available. So I won't go into super detail line by line in this code, but I will just run it, and you will see in this data directory a GeoJSON LD file will appear. So let's try that. Let me get a new terminal here. Let's call node. Let's zoom in a bit so you can see it. No, I think that's good. Node compile bike share data, or compile bike share stations. So we're joining. It logged here, wrote 815 stations to data/bike share stations.geojson. Let's take a quick look. So I think that extension should probably be GeoJSON LD. But here's our GeoJSON that's ready for update, ready for use in Mapbox Tiling Service. Like I did this morning, I want to sanity check these and make sure that they are indeed valid GeoJSON. Let's go to GeoJSON.io. Let's paste in one of these features. And there we go. We've got a point feature that's down here in Washington, D.C. Oh, and look, there's actually a base map point of interest for, is that for the bike shares? It is for the bike share station. Good job, Mapbox. That's great. Okay, so we can trust that this is ready to go. So I'm not really worrying about incremental updates. We've got a static data set that I just pulled, a minute ago, and we're going to make a tile set. So this is all the normal flow for creating a tile set in MTS. So I'm going to come to my cheat sheet here and do some tileset CLI commands. Now, first thing I need to do before I run tileset CLI commands is set up my secret access token. So we're going to say export Mapbox access token equals, and then I happen to have my secret key here, which I can paste and run. And I think we're ready. So that setup, basically once you set that environment variable, whenever I run a tileset CLI command, which is any one of these commands that start with the word tilesets, it's going to use that token for the request to Mapbox Tile Service. If I didn't set that, I would get an error. And it would say, you need a secret token. So you can go to your Mapbox account and create a new token. Make sure it has the tilesets read, tilesets list, and tilesets write scopes on it. All right, let's run this command. So before I hit enter, this is tilesets upload source. So we're making a new tileset source. I have to put my username, which is Chris Whong Mapbox, and then I have to put the name of the tileset source, or the ID, which is going to be bike share stations. Whoops. And then the path to the GeoJSON LD, which I just showed you earlier, is up here in the data directory. Let's run that. So we see our upload progress, and it looks like it was complete. So one file is done, and that's all we need. So this morning's demo, I did multiple sources in one tile set. We're just going to have one source. So we're ready to make the tile set. So this is tileset create command. I'm just going to copy and paste it, but you can see what it's doing here. Tilesets create, again, my username dot bike share stations. So in this case, the tileset ID is a combination. Every tileset ID is a combination of your username and the ID within your account of the tileset. So that's what this is. We're going to say -r for recipe.json, and then -n for bike share stations, which is like a human-friendly name for the tileset. Before I hit enter on this, I want to show you recipe.json. So let's take a look at that. And again, as I mentioned on the slide, the only thing we really have to do differently in order to do incremental IDs is, or incremental updates, is set incremental true. And there's one extra thing down here, which is this features object has specifies the ID. So this is a little expression that is going to say, get the ID property from the data and use that as the unique ID. You have to have a unique ID to do incremental updates. Otherwise, the system wouldn't be able to keep track of which one you mean when you say you want to update, and that ID must be unique. So let's take a quick look at the data again so we can see that each one of these has, it does not have an ID property at the top of the feature, which is also a way to do it, but it does have an ID property in the feature properties. So this is the unique ID, which was pulled from the original data. It's this kind of long hash with hexadecimals in it, but I can trust that these are unique. So my recipe has to pull that ID out from the feature properties. and that's what this chunk is doing, and then incremental true. So that's the only changes we have to make. So let's run this. Okay, so the log we get in the terminal is successfully created empty tileset Chris-Whong Mapbox dot bikeshare dash stations. So tileset is created, but it still doesn't really exist until we publish it. So the next command will be tilesets publish, and all we have to do is name the tileset we want to publish, which already exists, Chris-Whong Mapbox dot bikeshare dash stations. Okay, so publishing can take some time. So it says tileset job received. It's actually running the job. And like I did this morning, I will show you my console where we should see it pop up. If I click on Data Manager, the notifications pop up and it says processing Chris-Whong Mapbox.bikeshare-stations. So you can always come back into the user interface in console.mapbox.com /studio/tilesets and take a look at the processing if you don't want to keep pulling it from the command line. This shouldn't take too long. It's only a few hundred points, so should be ready in less than a minute. We'll see. Talk amongst yourselves. No, still processing. Okay, and in anticipation of this being done, I mean, hopefully we'll come back to it and it'll be done very soon. I now want to use my new tile set. And let's see. Yes, so I've already got it set up here. So I'm actually not doing add source and add layer here. I'm doing something a little outside of the box where I define a style JSON and I just have the source defined here. So this is the same as doing add source and add layer, but I have it set up in the Mapbox GLJS map at load time. So I'm not waiting for the map to load. But you can see I've got a vector source called stations, and inside of it is that URL. So this is my tileset URL. And then in the layers, I've got a circle layer and a symbol layer because I want to actually show the number of available bikes. So you'll see what this looks like in a moment. But you can check out the tutorial because it's got this same code in it. Are we done yet? Bike share stations. I think it's done. It says modified 3 minutes ago. But yeah, it's not processing anymore. So I think that'll work. Okay, let's run this. Let's run this little web app. Nope. All right, let's see what's going on here. Failed to load resource. Maybe we want 3.15.0, which just came out. I can't imagine why. Oh, it worked. Okay. So I meant to do this morning, but I didn't. But let's look at the network traffic and let's filter for api.mapbox.com. So what we want to actually check here is that our vector tiles are actually coming across. Actually, what I should look for is bike share stations. So anything that's in the network terminal or in the network panel right now that matches bike share stations is a vector tile. So that's what each one of these calls is. So this one is api.com/v4/Chris-Whong Mapbox.bikeshare-stations. So this means zoom level 11 and then x of 585 and y of 783.vector.pbf. So this is one tile that you're seeing on the map that was styled. Again, I would tweak this a little bit to make it look nicer, but I think you get the idea here that we are displaying num bikes available inside of a circle. And that's it. We just made a custom vector tile set with some data that we pulled from a real live bike share system feed. So hooray, now we need to keep it up to date. And that's what incremental updates will come in for. Because I can just reload this all day and I'll just get the same data. So here we are. So let's keep going. Next on my list here. So first thing we need to do is upload a change set. So how do we get a change set? So here's where we need a little bit more custom code. I've got a node script here called fetch changes. I'm not going to go in again into detail in this node script. This is the same thing that's in the tutorial. So if you want to go check it out, you can explore it a little bit more in detail there. But basically, I've already got this older copy of bike share stations as GeoJSON LD here, and now I'm going to essentially regenerate this and then compare the new version to this version. Then I'm going to get rid of this version and then save the new version so I have a source of truth of knowing what's currently on MTS, but I'm also going to output a change set file. So a little bit of magic there, but you can check out the node script in detail if you want. So let's do node fetch changes and turn your attention to the data directory. So I have a new file here called changeset-175, etc. This is a timestamp, so I can actually run this again, and it'll always pull real-time data. But it's important to note that bikesharestations.geojson is not the same as it was before. It's been updated as well. So we now have this, which represents the total data set that will be on MTS after this incremental change, and then this is the actual change set. So if you remember, there were like 800 and some stations, I think. But let's look at change set, and you can see that it has 263 stations in it. So my node script figured out which ones actually changed and then wrote only those to this file. And then there's a couple of things you have to do here that are different. So if you can see, each feature has this top level property called _action. So this can be either update, delete, or create. And this is how you define the change set. And like I said earlier, we're only doing updates because there's not bike share stations coming into existence here. So we're really only changing the num bikes available. The capacity should never change. The name should never change. So it's really just this field. So our task now is to get this change set into MTS. And then I actually need to go find one of these specific stations to confirm that our data has been updated. So I'm just going to leave this one here for now. And we have a new tileset command that we haven't run before yet called upload change set. So just like upload source, upload change set works the exact same way. So we're going to say tilesets upload change set, my username, Chris Whong Mapbox, bike share stations change set. So we have to give it an ID, and then we tell it where the data is. So this will be data/change set dash, and I need to fill in that number. So let's go grab that timestamp for this file. And let's go back to my command. And sorry, the Zoom windows are covering things, so I cannot see. All right. And we'll paste that in there. Okay, so here is my command to upload a change set to MTS. Run that, see what we get. Okay, change set is uploaded. So the data is sitting on Mapbox servers now. It's not going to do anything with that data until I actually publish the change set. So that's the next command. So tilesets, publish change sets. Here is the tile set that we want to update. And here is the change set. Oh, no. Sorry. Bike share station. Sorry. Yes, this is the tile set we want to update. And then this is the configuration JSON. So if you remember my screen, sorry, my slide, the change set exists. We just did this green bar, this green box, and we published it. Now we need the config JSON, which is kind of like a recipe, but it's describing the change set. So let's look at bike share stations change set.json. So this is our change set config JSON. So under layers, we have the stations layer, which is the same ID that we gave to the original tileset source. And then here we have the change set. So this is the Mapbox URL of the change set that we just created. And you can actually still see it logged down here from when we ran that command a few moments ago. So it's called tileset-mapbox://tileset-change set, my username / bike share stations change set. So I need to now tell MTS, use this little mini recipe, or what we're calling it, change set config JSON, and update the original tile set with this change set. Let's see it. All right, it worked. So it says message processing Chris Whong Mapbox.bikeshare stations. And we're going to go back to Mapbox Studio, and here it is processing. So it did pop up there, and we'll see. You saw how long the last one took, so maybe hopefully this incremental update goes a lot faster. And now what I need to double check, and I didn't do it before, is I need to look at one of these and try and find it, and this is going to be the hard part. So I'm a little familiar with DC because I grew up in that area, but 7th Street and R Northwest. Let me see if I can pull that off. 7th Street and R Northwest. I should go with the lower number or lower alphabet letter. I'll try 7th Street and R. So we're going to look for Shaw Library, and it should have num bikes available of 9. I think it's just finished. No, it's still processing. So now here, can I read this base map well enough? What am I looking for? Eek. I lost it already. Okay, 7th Street and R Northwest. Here's 8th Street and H. Here's 7th Street and K. 7th Street and R. There we go. So num bikes available is 8, and in our update, it is 9. So as soon as this processing is done, we should be able to reload the page and see that this has a num bikes available of 9 and not 8. Talk amongst yourselves. The suspense. I don't know why it's taking that long. It should go faster, but maybe something else hung up right now. Yes. Okay. So it finished and it actually reloaded. So let's go back in and find that station. 7th Street and R. 14th Street and R. 7th Street and R. Shaw Library. Ready? Ah. Bikes available 8. Hold on. Let me reload the page. Num bikes available 9. Okay. I'm still going to chalk this up to caching or something. So give me just a moment. Chris is 7th Street and R Shaw Library. Okay, so this is when my live demo goes awry. Everything should have worked. So I think I am going to try and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, right? Is there another 7th Street? No, am I looking at the wrong one? Ah, show one more. Okay. That's actually very interesting because now it's listing it twice, but it also has 8 bikes available. So let me try and find a different one. Or is this in the data set twice for some reason? Could be browser cache. I don't know if I want to sign out necessarily from here real quick, but here, let's go back out. Let's go to bike share. Let's go back out to tile sets and let's click in it again. And 7th Street, Shaw Library. Very interesting because before it was showing 2 and now it's only showing 1. So I think there's still something fishy going on. I'm going to move over here. That should be working, but I'm going to move back over here and check my front end app. And here I am going to actually try and clear the cache. So let's get rid of our browser storage, clear site data, and reload. And let's try and find that same station. Except now I have to read the streets. So what was it? 7th Street and R Northwest. So we want 7th Street, 34th Street. Where am I? Sorry, I'm lost. It should be down here somewhere. I should use the search box, which is what I built it in. Here's our street. Here's, what street is that? Oh, here we go. 7th Street in R Northwest. Bikes available 9. Okay. I'm redeemed. I don't know why it was not updating in Studio. I'm going to go back and look at it one more time. Um, let's reload you and try you out one more time. Okay, no, I can't explain this, but you did see it in the front end, so it did update to 9. Okay, I think that's going to conclude my demo. So again, go to the tutorial. It kind of spells out every step. The scripts that I use to process this bike share data are there, so you can explore them a little bit more. But yeah, you could run this again. If I ran, for example, the fetch changes again, it's going to make another change set, and it did also update bike share stations, and I could just repeat that process as much as I need to. So this is incremental updates in action with just a very small set of data, but I think that'll wrap us up. So thank you for your attention, and sorry for that weird hiccup with Studio.
I kind of loved it because it was we got to see you like live troubleshooting, and I feel like everyone was in the chat like, "What is it? It's browser cache. Let's try this." Like group, we're all rooting for you, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah, a real hero's journey, says Sarah. Yes, thank you so much, Chris, for doing not only a live demo but live tile set building and live incremental updates, which is a brand new feature. Really appreciate you walking us through how that works and giving an intro to the tutorial that's available for folks to try. Let's see, I think everyone's been watching so intently that no one submitted any questions to the Q&A. So maybe we'll just give it a minute or two and see if there are any questions that come in. Chris, was there anything that you wanted to share in terms of reflections from writing the tutorial or things where, things folks might get hung up on?
I mean, I guess, yeah, now that I was excited to find these like live bike share feeds, and I thought it would be an interesting data set, but you actually need like more real-time data. So maybe bike share is not the best use case for this. It did make some really good, useful change sets that weren't just dummy data, which was helpful. But like, I actually, you would need to, if you're really doing a bike share app, you would need something that's a lot more live, because you don't want to be updating these literally every minute or every 30 seconds. So you probably need to find, I should probably find, for the next demo, I need to find something a little more suitable. But no, I think, it's a few steps, and you have to learn this kind of new command with the tileset CLI, but it is pretty intuitive. It's a lot of different IDs to keep track of, and there's a JSON config here and a JSON config there. But as long as you can keep things organized, which is what programmers do, is keep lots of information organized, the pattern becomes a little more clear once you do it a few times. And I am actually using this in production for an app I built, which I did a session on right before this. And with a very simple pipeline in MTS, it's pretty easy, right? Like I set it up once, and I can trust it. Every time I run that command, I know my tile set's going to update, and I don't have to babysit it.
Mm-hmm. We have a question in from Tyler. Is the update time driven mostly by overhead, or is it highly dependent on the number of features?
It is highly dependent on the number of features. So especially with this one, it's only a few hundred, so I wouldn't have expected it to take that long. But it also depends not just on the number of features, but on the number of zoom levels you want to be tiled. So if you remember when we specify the recipe, you can just have one zoom level specified, and that's going to be a certain amount of data. But if you add more, especially if you go up in zoom levels, which means you're zooming in, the number of tiles you have to build goes up by 4. So it's that much more work for the service to do to process all this stuff. So you really need to do, to be strategic about which zoom levels you want. You don't want to make a tile set that covers all zoom levels for the whole world, because it's literally billions of tiles. Mm-hmm. So you need to be judicious about where you actually need this data.
Right, and that's kind of covered in larger other documentation about MTS in terms of your recipe structure and being strategic in how you're designing your tile set.
Yeah, and processing can take 30 minutes, can take hours, depends on how much data you're doing, how many tiles you're building. So it's all very fluid.
Mm-hmm. I see a question from Andrew in the chat asking about he's saying, did we discuss the obvious cost savings that come from using incremental updates? Missed the start of your introduction there, Chris.
Didn't discuss it, but we did show a slide. I think that's pretty much all we can say is cost savings and time savings. But how much is, again, completely fluid. It depends on the size of your data and what the level of effort is to process the incremental update, which may be spread out over a large area or whatever. So I can't go into too much more detail because I just don't know the specifics. But yes, the general concept is time saving and cost saving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the pricing for MTS is all based on compute units, and so the incremental updates you're computing a smaller amount when you're doing the processing. So actually a lot more coming on the incremental updates in terms of content. We've got some communications coming out in the coming weeks about this feature as it rolls out. So do stay tuned for more blog posts and more examples and content on this. We were so excited that it's happening right now at Build that we wanted to share it. And thank you, Chris, for being brave enough to venture into this brand new feature live in a demo session.
My pleasure. Thanks so much. Happy to share what I've learned.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap up for this session then, and that concludes day 4 of Build. Please do join us tomorrow for our concluding sessions. We've got more content sessions for building workshops as well as product updates, and our concluding keynote session as well with Watch Duty. So please do join us live for those tomorrow. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.